Okay, I'd like to call the utilities meeting to order. All members are present, Mr. Richard, Dr. Fellner, myself. Did you guys get a chance to read the minutes of the previous meetings?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
And I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, do we have any amendments tonight to the agenda? Okay, can I have approval of the agenda as published?
I'll make a motion to approve the published agenda.
Okay, all in
Second,
favor?
I'm sorry. Yep.
Okay. Tonight, we have Gleddale Boulevard Storm Sewer Project. So I guess I'll let the mayor take that
I'll hand this off to Nikki, explain the project, the request for help came from a neighbor. And so that's how the idea started. We have a solution. Don't want council to think that it's, that we can get this done without having to bid it in a formal way. So I'll stop there and see and have Nikki explain the project.
This will be a replacement of the storm line, basically from the start of the boulevard on Gleddale all the way to the west end where it'll empty out. There is currently a pipe there, but it's collapsed in places, and this will also extend it to get the water on out of the neighborhood. Crawford Construction gave us a number of 38.5. They'll come in and do the work. That way we can have it done prior to the paving season starting. So we're trying to get this all timed up right. But this should alleviate a lot of the issues that, as Tom mentioned, someone brought to our attention, causing issues with her foundation because of the amount of water that is not able to get away because of the collapsed pipe, and I think the length of the pipe is also contributing to the issue. So we've had McKeever on site. They've helped us come up with a basic plan. And as I said, Crawford gave us a quote, and they'll come in and get started as soon as we're ready for them. Actually, they said they won't be able to get started till the beginning of June.
Right.
I think that's a great idea. Where Gleddale, about 2 or 3 houses from the end of the lane, has always collected water in a pretty large fashion without, I know this will help a lot, and having it done this year and at that price, I think is a good idea.
Yep, and I
Yeah, I
think
agree.
last year when Columbia Gas came
Um,
in,
How that works, where Doc's talking about, there's a little bit of ditch, and it just holds water until the sewer can sort of
Uh-oh, the mayor froze.
He froze again. Oh no. I hate it when that happens.
Yeah, there's a couple alleys that cross right there, and that at that intersection is just a low spot. And I think, I mean, the word.
leak. Nikki, are we back or not?
Yes.
You're
Yeah,
back.
yep, you're back.
Anyways, I just wanted to contribute that small, item. Anyway, Nikki, if you had anything, do you have anything else there?
No, and I think, as I said, we're trying to time this up with the paving. When Columbia Gas came in last year and did their project, where they repaired is so significantly better, and everything is nice and smooth. So we want to get that kind of across the board, but obviously do need this construction before we do that.
Do we need legislation eventually?
Oh,
Couldn't,
Okay.
no.
I didn't mean to jump on you on that, Doc, but
No,
that was,
that's fine.
we've come up with a way to get this done, but I didn't want anyone on the committee or in council say, well, what the heck's going on there? That's been my neighborhood my whole life. It's been neglected for probably 40 years in part because of that, but so that's really why I wanted to run it past council and go from there.
That's good. Thanks for doing that. Yes, Julie.
On the Facebook, Tom wants to know who else besides Crawford Construction was contacted for a quote.
We had Rising Sun and I can't remember the third one, but Crawford came in, I think 10,000 less than one and more than 10,000 less than the third, but I apologize, off the top of my head, I can't remember who the third quote was from.
Okay, anybody else have anything on this? If not, item B is electric vehicle charging station.
Yeah, this will be another, I'll snap the ball maybe to Natasha and then our guest Jimmy Smith. We're close to entering into a 3-year agreement that would have exceeded the bidding amount. And had one of those moments where, well, let's step back a little bit and make sure, not really unlike the last issue, that we run this past council. And so the broad outline is a 3-year contract with Mr. Smith's company. And it would provide a electric charging vehicle out there, electric vehicle charging station out there that would then be reliant, I think, on a certain amount of volume to have it be worth it, to have it pay for itself. So I suppose this is introductory in a certain sense, and it's before we entered into a contract, we wanted to make sure council thought it was a good idea, underlying good idea, and the right thing for the city to be involved in. So Tasha, why don't you?
Where, I have a question. Where would this be located?
Out at the Valero station on the west side of that drive there, that parking lot. I think is that right, Tasha?
Yes, that's correct. And we realized that we would need some sort of agreement with Valero and Raj. And we'll get that worked out. First, we want to see if we even want to go forward with the project at all. So we have Jimmy here to give you guys some information. Jimmy, are you on?
Yep, I'm here. Yeah, I'm here to answer questions that you may have. My understanding is that you wanted to know more about it, so I was feeling out how you would like me to talk onto it. Did you just have questions that I could help answer? Did you want me to do a presentation, or where are you in the process? How much you know already, and then maybe I can help fill in the gaps for the rest of it.
Well, I think a brief presentation as an introduction would be great.
Yep, let me pull that up then. And how much of a presentation, just to chart, like what ChargePoint is, what electric vehicles are, like, are you looking at like what the market is, how in like?
I mean, how ChargePoint and the city's arrangement would work, how we would recover the costs of the electricity, and how that relationship between how you get paid from the city, and then how people who use the system pay for the system, sort of one vehicle at a time.
Yeah, sounds good.
How much of a call do we actually have for electric car charging station?
How much of a
How much of a call do we have for electric car charging station?
I think let me try to answer that. Last fall, I believe it was, the state came out with some targeted areas through the EPA that they were going to invest and put charge stations throughout the state. We didn't have much input on that, but what we realized is that the 30 corridor was really not included in that area or in that program. And then when we did a little bit of research about availability of car chargers, really, I would say west of Ontario, out to Lima, there really is, seems to me to be a spot where this could work. So the risk is that we would make this commitment and we would, they put the equipment up and there wouldn't be sufficient demand. So I think the last part I would say is that if you're of the mind that electric vehicle production use is going to go up, this is a way for us to get in the position to have a fast charging capability there at that 598 interchange. That's the logic behind the interest and why we talked to ChargePoint. And we've also talked to Raj. He's had some investments, the fellow who owns the Valero, in electric chargers. He's more than happy to work with us to provide space there and to assist in the electricity. I think he's reluctant to invest in another charging station himself. So that's kind of how we got to this point of the city would fund the charging station expense, the lease, and kind of honestly to try to answer your question a little better, to see how it goes, to see what kind of usage we get.
What's the, I know we're talking about a 3-year deal. What is the cost per year for the city then, Tom?
That's Asha or a Jimmy question. I'm just
All right.
straight.
Yeah.
Michael.
I have that information, but did you want me to start on the presentation with what ChargePoint is, or I can happy to answer questions too?
Q&A, but go ahead.
Did you say Q&A?
No, I said it looked like we kind of went straight to Q&A, but a summary would be helpful.
Sure. I'll just do a quick summary. So ChargePoint is based out of California. That's who I work for. We do only electric vehicle charging stations. That's the only thing we do. We're a network of EV stations throughout the country and frankly throughout the world. We have about 130,000 places to plug in globally, with 75,000 places here in North America. And we have about a 70% market share into that. Hey, the cat's up. We do, so it's just smart charging stations. We're the only ones in the market that do a full suite of products, as well as the network that goes behind it. But we do a home, multifamily, fleet, public mixed use, and then 4 different types of DC fast chargers. So really having the right product for the right solution and making sure that, this industry, this movement that's, finally kicking off here in Ohio, is really going to have like the most success by making sure that we have the, the service, the support, and the quality that goes into it. So I'm based here in Ohio. I've been doing this for about 6 years, and I can tell you it's a whole different mindset 6 years ago. And it's really like coming together now that we have all these vehicles that are hitting the road, hitting the market, and then even starting to manufacture some in Ohio too. So that's the short and sweet of what ChargePoint is, and a little bit about me. I can then go into the CPaaS question, or the rental question you had.
Yeah. What's like? You want me to read that, or?
Oh, I was per year. It is a $19,000, $200 for as an annual subscription for the DC fast charger that we were talking about.
So I'm going to say it. I'm a piker when it comes to knowledge about electric cars. I'm assuming that when a person would pull up to something like this, I understand it's not like pulling up to a gas station where you just pump the gas. You may take, depending upon the quantity you're putting in, anywhere from just a few minutes to maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I understand that that time factor is not correct for an electric plug-in. Can you kind of explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things to consider here. Is that well, the experience of like how you charge and like plugging in versus like plugging in or using a nozzle of a gas hose into the car is going to be somewhat similar, but maybe more towards like an iPad versus a fuel of liquid coming out. It's just fuel is electricity. So if we have the apologize if you can hear some background noise, but it's going to be very similar, but the time frame is a little bit different. I'm not, what's the average time that people use a gas station? I assume like 10 minutes or so, where the average charge on a DC fast charger is more like 20 to 40 minutes, just depending on how much fuel they need. That changes over time, but right now it's the limiting factor is the speed of what the vehicle can take of a charge. As new models come out, they're eventually going to get faster to be able to accept chargers faster. And I mean, quite frankly, what we all are seeing that, with the future of this whole industry is 200 to 300 miles of range in about 10 to 15 minutes is going to be very common. So at the moment, though, that's what we more have seen is that 20 to 40 minutes. But really that's it's a top off model. So people are going to charge at home. And then when they're driving through, like the mayor was saying, is they're cutting across 30, then they'll be using that DC fast charger to make that quick stop. Stop, get some cookies and snacks, use the restroom, and then head out. So the location is good to really suit that, where they can stop in and out and continue going.
What voltage goes into that charging station?
It's 3-phase 480, so it pulls at 60 hertz. It's 86 amps, so it's 100 amp per acre, or 80 amp, so it's 100 amp per acre.
So how is electric going to be fed out there since it's going to be on private property?
I believe there was going to be an agreement with the private property owner to allow to be able to operate there, as well as use those parking spaces that are going to be directly in front of that, so they have like rights to access that over that period of time.
And Mark, I don't want to get into the detail of what I would describe the negotiation, but who will pay the electric bill is something that I think the owner of the gas station understands it's really in his interest to either participate in, or you might say pick up that cost. So we aren't there yet. We haven't negotiated that, but in conversation, there's a great benefit for him to have people stop there. So we'll see what we ultimately end up. I think we have two costs: the cost of buying the electric as part of our AMP bill, and then the lease of the equipment for 3 years. So those are the two costs the city has to cover. I'm somewhat optimistic that we'll get the electric covered in large part.
I'm just kind of concerned of a piece of city equipment, especially electrical equipment, parked on somebody else's property.
No, the equipment, that's why we decided to go with a lease. It's not a lease to purchase. I think another aspect is technology, but I won't get off the subject. I don't want to own that. I want to have it be charge points. And after the lease is up, I mean, one of my reactions, I'm not sure that was what Mike's question is, $19,000 seems like a lot. You call yourself a piker? I don't know. I'm cheaper than a piker or whatever. So that's one of my concerns, is that we would have this equipment, it would be rapidly obsolete, and it would be this public property on the private, public structure on the private property. So,
Yeah, that's, so Mr. Smith, on your charging station, they pay with a credit card, they pay by minutes, they pay by, how do you do that?
Yes. So it's configurable to do how you like to do it. So most people are going to use the ChargePoint app. So most people already have the ChargePoint app too. I should back up with that part because they get a ChargePoint card when they get the new car. So they can load their ChargePoint app with that new account that they can create, and then that they would, as they use the station, you guys determine what that fee is. We'll collect it from the driver for you, and then remit it back to you either on a monthly basis or when you hit a minimum dollar threshold. They can use a standard tap style credit card so that they, more similar to what you would experience in like a grocery store, and then, just pay for it as that way. Experience though, more people, just from what we've seen being used on the app, most people use an app or an RFID card and, start a session that way and transfer the funds via that account as well.
Okay, one more question, then I'll be quiet. I'm just curious as to why ChargePoint, your company, how's the city involved in this? Why didn't you guys just put your station there?
We have 70,000 or 75,000 ports in North America. We don't own them. Our business model is that we help and facilitate other people who want to put these on their property, how to do it, how to manage it. Just like, Visa doesn't own gas stations or grocery stores, but they facilitate the, transactions that go through there. It's just not our business model. We just haven't done it, and we've been continuing to roll these out. There's also other examples of municipalities in Ohio, frankly, that already been doing this, such as Lancaster, Athens, Somerset. I'm just trying to think what's more on this side of the town. Dayton, Columbus. There's a lot of other examples that I can point to of other municipalities doing this, but it's the same thing. That's just not our business. We don't believe that we know what the property is going to be used for. We don't believe that we have the right the mix of what you may be doing. Perhaps the city buys a fleet vehicle in the future and they want to use that same charger to power up their fleet vehicle that may go around and building inspector or whatever it may be. So we facilitate that and want to make sure that you guys are successful doing it.
I was wondering, kind of to piggyback on what I was asking before when I asked about the fee on the agreement, 19,000, to kind of piggyback off the mayor's comment. So you have other places currently here in Ohio that you're actually up and operating, is what I'm taking, or what you just said. So my question is, what is the, do you know the average, what and I'm based off of what they charge, but what a individual customer, say they come in, they hook up, they do whatever they do to get their charging started. What is the average return or charge per customer? Or would you know that?
Just because I am a EV driver for the last that 6 years, whatever it's been, I can tell you from my personal experience and what I've seen and just what others are charging. I'm trying to think what City of Worcester charges a pretty nominal fee. I'd say they're they're probably on the low end of what people charge. And I think they're at, $3 to $7 for a charging session. I think more typical is going to be like the $10 to $15, $10 to $12 in that range. I'm trying to think of what, up in Stark County, I think they're more on that side of it. So it does depend on a few different factors. Like, just like gasoline, if you have a big truck that has a big gas tank into it, it's going to take more and more money to fill it up versus like a Chevy Pinto, I don't know, a Honda Fit. The same thing with electric cars. They have different fuel tanks, as it would be, different size batteries. So the total dollar charge that they would experience would be affected by that.
So how many years do you think it would take to get back $61,000? Longer than 3, I'm sure.
It really depends on numerous different things that are kind of come in here. We're early in the market. I mean, we do have vehicles that are coming out, but more of them are like, you know, coming onto the market. It's hard to give that good number of what is a return on investment onto a project because it's just, there's new, we're getting more vehicles, we're increasing that. It would also be, you know, what is amenities? Well, this one has great amenities nearby because they have that bathroom, that restroom, that food facilities that's local, but it's really a tough number because we're in the infancy of it. I know we do have, you know, dozens or 100 of these in a state. I'd have to go back and look and see how many that is. And they all have their different pricing policies as they're all, you know, seeing what works best for them. I have a hard time giving you a solid number on what that would be though.
Well, don't mean to jump in, Mark. Well, let me ask you this. You mentioned Worcester. Tell us a specific location in Worcester that has one of these. I'd be kind of curious to see what type of experience they've gotten.
They have a couple of locations in Worcester, and it's the city of Worcester itself. So they have it in their downtown block, which is, and they have 2 different kinds. So the one that we're looking at is a DC fast charger. So that's that really quick in and out charge. They also have level 2 charging, which is more of that top off model where, you know, you're thinking you're stopping in, you're going to be there a couple hours to visit the town, like maybe get a, you know, stop at the restaurants nearby or when they have like festivals and stuff. And they're on average, they're there probably more like 2 hours because they're going there as a destination to go to something else. So they have both at that city. So I want to just mention that too. But one of them's down in the square. The other is a municipal parking lot behind their, I think it's City Hall that is. And then the third one is right off from their main square, but also a municipal parking lot. And that's where their DC fast chargers are. I wish I remembered the names of the roads, but
That's fine. I was just curious.
Mhm.
I guess because obviously I don't have an electric car, but I was kind of too was that the amount of time you mentioned that it would be up to what 45 minutes. What do the people do during that time frame? Because I'm sorry, but that seems to me a long time, especially given where this location's going to be at.
Yeah, it's a matter of when I see people there, they're going inside, you know, getting the snacks. If they can order food into there, they're in a range what their schedule is to make sure that they can get like something while they're there. But that's on the long end. I mean, I know I was at a charger in what was that city? It's right south of Mansfield. And there was a charger right off 71 there, and the guy was coming from he was heading out to New York, and he was just coming back from like the Dakotas or something. And like, this is how they travel across country. They're stopping at these places. They're planning their routes accordingly. In Ohio, like I said, we don't have nearly as many as some of these other states, and they are limited. So you plan the routes to where those are going, and that's the experience you're going to have. Most people are going to, 45 minutes is probably on the long end. I mean, they're getting that full battery because they need to make some big jump to whatever the next location is. But as we get more of these, they fill in a lot, like, they can make more stops, get a quicker charge, not have to be there as long.
Thank you.
I hope that helps.
Okay, Mark, but we probably should have planted the committee with a bunch of Facebook people calling in that are EV users. I really catch myself thinking like I'm in a.
I think we lost them.
He froze again.
My big question is, who can afford an electric car? They're twice as much as a gas car.
Well, the one Teslas now are down.
1971. Yeah, there's a fair amount of requests for it, but it'll be interesting to see. I think that's why this lease approach is what we thought's the most prudent. I think if I'm live, the pricing is that we had looked at to come close to covering our costs is that 10 to 15, 10 to $12 for a sort of a passenger charge. It's around a half hour, some between that 20 and 40-minute number that Jimmy had talked about.
And Mark had asked the question about the affordability of the vehicles. The good thing is they are getting cheaper, and Americans, frankly, are buying more expensive vehicles anyway. So they now surpassed more vehicles that are between that $35,000 and like $50,000 range than are sold with the vehicles that it's like $20,000 to $35,000 range. We're spending more on vehicles, and that fits in right in that category with the electric vehicles. I think, like Julie was saying, like the Tesla Model 3 now is the low end is at $28,000, which may seem like a lot, but the number one selling vehicle on the road right now is a Ford F-150 with an entry model price of what, 40,000. Then, the top of the line is
Low.
yeah. I don't know my Ford F-150s. They're not
Yeah.
electric yet, so I don't know my prices as well.
So
Um,
anyway,
yeah.
if I think I'm glad we had this introduction, this conversation, because much like the other topic we talked about, who paid for that electric charger out there and whose idea was, and why didn't we know about that? Those would all be three good questions. So stopping short of going ahead and getting this in motion, I believe it was late last year, we thought, well, let's wait. Let's get into the new calendar year, budget year, and then start the process of introducing a bunch of gas guzzling 20th century types to the future of electric vehicles. I think there's just great potential in the upside of that interchange if this would be as Jimmy was saying, everybody has it on their app, but they don't have to be taught how to use their machine. They use it all the time. That's how they fill up. And so their network of charging stations, ours will appear on that, and it'll fill a kind of a nice, not a nice, but there's a hole there that I think will make this a place maybe not so much for gas as for people who now have another reason to stop at that interchange. So anyway.
Happy to talk anymore or provide
sale-
follow-up information too.
The sales of EVs is going to do nothing but go up in the next 3 years. GM, the American manufacturers are going to go full steam. Oil, we can't depend on oil forever. So I mean, the writing's been on the wall for a long time, and everyone has been reluctant to accept that. But I'm telling you, Mark, you might not own one, but Addie's going to own one.
Yeah, but Doc, back in the 20s, Henry Ford tried to build electric cars and it never made it go.
Well,
I mean,
the technology was crap in the 20s, and
I
it's
didn't know
still,
about lithium.
it's still the
who
bad,
needs lithium for those batteries?
but the batteries are still in its infancy. It's just going to do nothing but get better, and
Okay.
this time.
Who drills our oil?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, we do.
Some of it, and some of it we make lithium too.
Ford Mustang Mach-E is coming out.
Well,
Anyway, I'm glad that to be on the front line, the cutting edge of something that's going to be, it's just going to go nothing but up.
Yeah.
All right.
And
Jimmy, I appreciate you taking the time. It's probably not the first one of these council committees you've gone through, so we really appreciate, I think,
He keeps freezing.
We appreciate it, Jim. Thank you.
not a problem. Happy to do it. Happy to talk
Questions.
more.
the percentage. And again, anyways, I really appreciate it. We'll be back in touch, I think.
Sounds good. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jimmy.
All right, Mark, that's really mostly, there's really no legislation. I thought it was important to get this thing. There's a little bit of gap in legislation to get this idea of what role the city could play. The only other EV charger in the county is in Bucyrus, and that was funded by American Electric Power. So, you know, when you have Muni Power, you're gonna have to, if we wanna have a comparable service, we're probably gonna have to figure out how to fund it and you know, how to contract for it and then pay for it as well.
Hey, Tom or Tasha, you were talking about this agreement. Now, I understand this company will own the unit itself and they will do the maintenance and everything on it? Or is that something that the city obligated to oversee?
ChargePoint will be doing the maintenance on the machine.
Okay. One more question there, Mark. Tasha or Tom, you're looking for a 3-year deal. I'm curious, why is there a price differential? Why we're doing 3 years as opposed to trying it out for 1 year and see how it goes?
Do 1 year.
I don't know if Tom froze or not, but I guess we are able to do it for 1 year.
Did they change that back, Tasha?
I was going to say some places they give you a price break, so to speak, if you
Answer to that.
multiple extended a type of agreement as opposed to a single, or even a double for that matter. You know, I'm just, you know, because it's so new. My only concern would be is that we would be locked in for 3 years, and we would be. While I agree with Doc Fellner that it is, in certain circles that is the new wave, but I'd be concerned about being locked in something that would not take off within that time frame, and we would be stuck with a bill. You know what I mean? Tom, you froze again.
He's freezing.
We're gonna have to talk to him about his internet capabilities.
Yeah, especially here recently, he's been freezing at most. So I don't know if his spectrum or anything.
There he is.
There he's back.
I was just it will take a while, like any startup, to develop awareness among EV users, potential users. So, you know, a 1-year contract, we want to think a little bit about measuring its success, and it'll take a few months for it to be, you know, widely known among the electric vehicle users. Anyway, good discussion.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything? Next meeting will be. Is that the 4th, Julie? 5th?
Fifth.
May 5th? If nobody else has anything, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'm going to do a mark and say, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye,
Aye. Okay, thanks, everybody.
thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye.